Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 126 of the Rise Up and Share Your Medicine podcast. I'm so excited to be here with you. The reason I'm looking around is I'm just making sure that the sound sounds good. Hello, Roxana. If you can hear me, if you can write it in the comments, that would be lovely. I haven't been able to be live in a while. I've been pre-recording them, but today I was able to. So I'm delighted to share this very important teaching with you today. And so today's podcast episode is called When Processing Emotions Holds You Back, which is, I know might sound really strange because we know how important it is to process emotions, especially for those of you who are helpers, for those of you who are here in service and to help humanity. You're here as change makers. So we know that part of your purpose, or really your purpose, is to uplift the world, right? To hold space, create healing space for others. And so processing emotions is part of that. And I actually Googled, I'm like, how does the internet say? What does the internet say about processing emotions? And so this is how it defines it, which I thought was pretty good. It says, processing emotions means acknowledging, understanding, and accepting your feelings in a healthy way. So all of that, of course, is very powerful and essential. So why am I saying that it could hold you back? So I want to really talk about that. I realized, though, I have not introduced myself. So my name is Lisa Espinosa. I'm a spiritual career coach, and I help helpers and change makers. I help them to help with more impact, to share their unique gifts with more authenticity and fulfillment, and to do it in a way that is not overwhelming or depleting. And rather, it's actually life giving and actually cultivates a life you love, regardless of whatever challenge is going on in your life. Because if you're here as a helper or as a change maker, you probably will go through a lot because it's part of your training. It's part of what molds you to be the change maker that you came here to be. So that's who I am. And in these episodes, I share really powerful practical teachings to help you show up more consistently. So let's get back to the topic. So as I said, processing emotions is essential. What is it? Acknowledging, understanding, and accepting your feelings in a healthy way. When it starts to hold you back is when it becomes a way to avoid taking action. And either you avoid taking action because you're trying to fix the emotion you're feeling, or you take a lot of action, but it's not the action that's going to get the result you want. So I'm going to give you a specific example. And don't get too attached to the example. If it doesn't relate to your type of work, that's okay. Just replace what would. So the example I came up with is, let's say you're planning on sharing a post on Facebook. I know this might seem like the most mundane thing, but let's say. But it's a post that you want to share that's kind of vulnerable. You want to share a personal story, something you've gone through or you're going through, and how you're overcoming it. And the reason you want to share it is because it could be inspiring, motivating. It could add value to your people. And when I say your people, that's your clients, your students, your customers, whatever whatever you understand that to be. This is an example I've gone through many times. This is an example I've helped my clients go through many times. So let's say you're getting ready, you're going to share this post, but you find that you keep putting it off. Every time you're going to go do it, you find something else to do. And before you know it, days have passed and you haven't done it. And as you check in, you're like, well, I'm just kind of feeling anxious and worried about it. And so a common way, especially for helpers, because we're so good at going deep, is that you might be like, well, I have to process this emotion. So I notice that I'm feeling anxious. Let me go journal on why I feel anxious. So then you could take time journaling, and maybe you sit down and meditate, and maybe you identify that, oh, this is coming from something in the past where I didn't feel safe to be seen. And so, so on and so on. But you're not taking the action. Again, days pass, weeks pass, sometimes months pass. Like sometimes when I meet with potential clients, when we're meeting, they might share, well, I've had this idea to share on Facebook or share on Instagram for like the last 6 months and they haven't done it. And I'm not sharing this with any sort of judgment because I've done that too. I understand. But what's so fascinating and interesting is that the vast majority of people that come to me are so insightful and reflective. And so it's not that they're avoiding feeling their emotions. They're very intelligent and they could write a whole book on why they're feeling anxious. And it might feel very productive. It might feel like that's the thing to do. I need to process the emotion. But this is the thing, again, if you find that you're spending all of this time processing the emotion but not taking the action, then there's something that we can look at here. Now, before going on, I want to be clear. Obviously, this is not if you are having debilitating anxiety, debilitating emotions that requires you to see a therapist or any other medical professional. Obviously, go do that. Do not use this podcast episode against you. I'm really talking, this is really for those situations where it's not debilitating anxiety, but it's like, or worry or whatever the feeling is, but it's creating procrastination or a watering down of your message. Maybe you do the Facebook post, but it's very diluted. It's not what you really wanted to share. It's kind of keeping it safe. I'm not suggesting for you to share things on Facebook that make you uncomfortable, like, that are too personal. That's not the point here. But like if you had a really, soul-led idea to share something personal or something important to you that really felt like I really feel my people would resonate with this and this would help them, and you find yourself putting it off. And again, remember, I said it before, this doesn't have to be the example for you. You replace the example for you. So the reason processing then the emotion, and I feel like where people can get stuck, especially helpers, is the understanding where it comes from piece. Like I can do that for days and days and weeks and months and even years. Like just go deep into understanding why an emotion is coming up. So that's one place. So notice if that happens for you. If there are action steps that you're being guided to take, but instead you spend it processing, like going deep into understanding. So that's one way. The other thing that can really hold you back is that the last step, which is, and I don't know if I wrote it on here, but is you might decide you want to change the circumstance. So you might decide, well, if posting on Facebook gives me anxiety, maybe I'm not supposed to post on Facebook. What would feel good? Let me go do what feels good. And that's also a thought error, right? So the thought error really is believing that in order to be on your path, that when your soul guides you, and when I say soul, I mean your true essence, your higher self, your heart, your higher wisdom. I use the word soul. When you have that guidance from your soul, there is this common thought error that we have as humans, that it's meant to feel good the whole time, that we're just meant to feel motivated and inspired. So we have to wait for inspiration to go do that post on Facebook. We have to wait till none of those bad feelings, whether it's anxiety or pressure or any of that is in our body, then we can take action. But that is a thought error, because the truth is that when we're living a human life, those emotions will be there. Not always. I'm not saying that you're always going to feel that, right? It's like, but allowing those emotions to be present, those challenging, heavy, difficult, whatever adjective you want to use, to be there is part of being emotionally powerful, emotionally resilient. This is what I teach my clients. And I'm saying this from a place of being a very, very emotionally sensitive person. I feel deeply. When I feel good, I can feel amazing. And when I feel quote unquote bad, I can feel really, really bad. I've always been a very emotionally sensitive person. And so part of my journey of helping others has been becoming an emotionally powerful person. That doesn't mean I'm not sensitive anymore. I still feel everything. It's like emotionally powerful, emotionally resilient. And so that's what this episode is about. So knowing that there is a place for processing emotions and there is a place for what I call presencing your emotions, being present to them. What does that mean? That means that being present to your emotions means ultimately becoming like your soul. Because your soul, who is who you really are, right? We're a soul having a human experience. Your soul has infinite capacity. And so your soul can presence your emotions all day long, 24/7. Your soul never gets overwhelmed. I know we have expressions like, oh, my soul feels heavy, my soul feels tired, but that's just, we're really saying my human self feels that way because your soul never feels that. Your soul is eternally connected to source, is infinite. But as humans, of course, we do feel heaviness, we do feel exhaustion. But your soul can be present with any emotion. So what could happen? Let's use the same example. Let's say you're being guided to post something on Facebook, a story, an anecdote that you feel will be really useful to your people. And it makes you feel vulnerable. There is anxiety and worry that comes up. Presencing in that moment would look like you identify it, you recognize, oh, wow, I want to share this post, but it's making me feel vulnerable. I feel anxiety, or I feel worry, or I feel weird, fear. And then in that moment, and you see, I bring my hands to my heart. That's a big way of how I presence is I bring my hands over my heart center. And then you just acknowledge it, like I'm feeling this. And a lot of presencing is the self-talk that you use, because self-talk is the thoughts in your head. Okay, the thoughts in your head are powerful. And often what comes up when we are going to take an action step, when we feel fear or worry or anxiety, the self-talk goes something like, this isn't safe, people are going to judge me, I'm going to make a fool of myself, people will be offended, nobody's going to like this, or they're going to ignore it, or I'm going to feel embarrassed. All of those thoughts create a vibration, create an energy. But rather, and so let's go through that. So let's say you have those thoughts and you're like, okay, I got to go process my emotion. And then that delays you taking the action. And so what I'm inviting you to instead is build the muscle of emotional power and resiliency, which would mean to recognize I'm feeling anxious about sharing this post. There's worry in my body. Identify that. And then also say, and it's safe. It's safe for me to have this emotion in my body. Notice that we're not jumping to like, okay, how do I get rid of it? Let me process it. Where did it come from? Let me, unburden. Let me do a ritual. Let me pull an oracle card. Let me do whatever I can to get rid of this emotion. That's not what we're doing. Instead, you're increasing the muscle of being present to it, not overwhelmed in it, not flooded by it, not drowning in it, but just recognizing, oh, I'm feeling anxiety, and that's okay. It's safe for me to feel the emotion of anxiety in my body. I can increase my capacity to have this emotion in my body and still take soul-led action. It's a very subtle difference, but very powerful. And this is something that I've been working on for years and to really hone in, because for a long time, as a very emotionally sensitive person, for me, when I would feel anxiety, it was like, and it was like, okay, what do I need to do? Let me go journal. Let me do all the things that I can do to like dissipate it and let it move through my body. And I'm not judging that. That was part of my process. That was part of me getting to the place where I am now. But it also, I understand, as somebody who coaches others to do this, I had to take a very long road to this point so that I could teach others. Because what I understand now is that if you start to increase your capacity to have these emotions be in your body without them needing to leave, several things happen. One is you continue to have momentum in your service and leadership. The other thing that happens is you start to lose the fear of having these emotions, because the number one thing that holds people back from fully fulfilling their purpose and being of the greatest service that they can be in this lifetime is the fear of an emotion. Fear of being judged, fear of failing, fear of being ridiculed, fear of, being dismissed, fear of being ignored, fear of being overwhelmed. And so again, one of the most important, powerful tools that we need to develop, and one of the things I spend the most time coaching my clients on, is emotional power. Notice it's not emotional positivity. It's not that you have to be joyful and cheerful and positive and like all the time. I love those emotions. And I'm in a lot of ways, like I said before, I can feel very positive, but I can also feel very negative. I just have a very rich emotional life. And so when you start to decide, I want to increase my capacity to continue to take action, to continue to show up, no matter what emotion comes up in my body. Not from a place of emotional bypassing. Not that, okay, I feel anxious, I'm just going to push it down, squash it down, pretend it's not there, and just barrel through. That is not sustainable. It will come up. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is increasing your capacity. Remember, I said your soul has infinite capacity. So you can think of your soul as light. So when you ask your soul to increase your capacity, you're saying, okay, soul, fill me with more light. Help me hold more of your light. So yes, the anxiety might still be there, but my light is way bigger than the anxiety, so that it can still be there and I can still write that Facebook post. I can still show up. I can still do that Instagram live, or I can still say no to that request from someone, or I can still say yes to that opportunity. I don't have to spend days and weeks and months processing the emotion. I can increase my capacity so that it's there and I still take action. So a lot of times people think that I've come to this point where I just don't feel as much emotion as I did before. And that is not true. When we relocated to Mexico almost 2 years ago, we're April, May, June. Yeah, almost in 3 months, it'll be 2 years. That's crazy to me. Right? When I was born and raised in Chicago, but my parents are from Mexico. And my husband and I decided we were going to move to a different country, to Mexico. To a place in Mexico where I know nobody. So this isn't where my family is from. So there was a lot of emotion, right? The emotion of loss, leaving loved ones behind, the emotions of uncertainty, trying to sell a home, sell cars, let go of all of our belongings, all of the things that had to happen. There was a lot of emotion, but I did it. Well, my husband and I did it, right? We did it. And so, but it's not because, I was just really calm and chill through all of it. No, I felt so much. It was so much emotion that I felt. And yes, the reason to have a coach, and I had a coach and I am a coach. So as you listen to this, realize for some of you might be like, oh yes, this is a really important teaching, presencing versus processing. And I also want help with this, right? And so it's not that I don't feel the emotions, as I've learned to build my emotional power, to accept that I'm a very emotionally sensitive person and I'm going to feel lots of things. And that feeling anxiety, worry, fear doesn't mean that I'm supposed to stop. And so this is the thing, when I say the title of this podcast was when processing emotions holds you back. And that's what I see when potential clients meet with me. And when my current clients meet with me, this is what I help them, right? To help them see I've just been using processing emotions. Like it felt like the right thing to do, but it's actually just a way to soothe. And soothing ourselves, I want you to think, I know soothing can sound like a nice thing, But in this context, I want you to think of soothing yourself as like a pacifier, like a temporary band-aid. I feel anxious, so let me go do something to soothe. As opposed to, I feel anxiety, let me have compassion for myself. And let me increase my capacity to feel safe with this emotion in my body. And what the paradox of this is, when you do this, often you actually release the emotion from your body. But I don't want you to have to need that to happen. And so I did write some steps to kind of like really ground this for you here. I'm just looking, yeah, here. Of, well, what does this look like? And I just want to read some of the comments here. Deborah saying, yes, presencing emotions is like sitting with our parts, hearing them, accepting them, and yet not letting them lead. This is help. Yes, exactly. It's like being the leader of our emotions, right? It's like, I used to be a seventh grade teacher back in Chicago. So that's like 13, 14-year-olds. My seventh graders were kind of older. And it's like being a good teacher meant I was the leader in the classroom, right? It was like, yes, I could have compassion for my different students who brought in all these lots of different things, right? A lot of times, a lot of challenging home situations, all of that. But I had to be able to have compassion for them, create that space, and still move forward with the lesson, right? Still take the lead. And that took time to learn, because at first, you better believe it, those first 3 years of being a teacher, I got derailed all the time. I'm not saying after 3 years, nothing, it was still, it was an ongoing mastery, but I had to learn that. So it's the same thing, exactly. It's like when processing holds us back, it's a thought error. It's like, oh, I feel bad. Let me stop the lesson and go address this and wait, and then what often happens when you do that is you find, because we're so good at processing and digging deep, it's like, oh, wait, now there's this other emotion that's up. Oh, now I can go down this other trail. And it's like, and then again, the reason holds us back is because then again, it's a very sneaky way that our egoic mind gets us off track, right? Like, you're the leader. And so these are the steps that I want to ground for you. So and again, you are here as a helper, a change maker, a visionary, whatever your job title is, whether you're a therapist, a life coach, or not even in the wellness profession, or even if you're retired or semi-retired. If you're watching this, then you know that your legacy of love continues. You are still here to share your unique gifts, right? You're doing that. And even if you're already doing that, our soul is always guiding us to do it in a more impactful way. So the first step is, when you're getting ready to take the action, whatever it is, or even thinking about it, if you notice an emotion that's in the way, that's creating resistance or friction, first thing you're going to do is identify the emotion. Just identify it. Just know, like, rather than pretending it's not there or pushing it down or trying to fix it, just identify what it is. And so whatever it is, worry, fear, anxiety, uncertainty, just identify it. This is the steps for presencing. I should have started with that. You're being present with the emotions. That's the first step. Second step is, you're going to remind yourself that you can take action. You can continue to take this soul-led action even with this emotion in your body. This is very important. Even if you remind yourself of that, but you're like, but I can't right now. That's okay, because you're starting to create that belief, that opening for yourself. So just reminding yourself, like, my soul is bigger than any emotion that I can have in my body. My soul has infinite capacity. And, for those of you who connect with, spiritual beings, spiritual allies, your spiritual helpers, like, guardian angels, or like ascended masters like Buddha or Kuan Yin or Mother Mary, when you think of, like, coming to those divine beings, they don't get overwhelmed, right? They're not like, you're too sad, stay away, right? They're not. They're like, so they have such infinite capacity. Nothing overwhelms them. And that's what we're learning in our lifetime. We're waking up to that memory, to remembering that ourselves. So this step of reminding yourself, I can continue to take action, or maybe for you, the word, and I want to write it here, is I can continue to show up. I can continue to show up even with this emotion. Okay, so that's the second step. The third step is you're going to ask your soul to increase your capacity, right? To increase your capacity to be with this emotion and continue taking soul-led action. That's the key. This is not about frenzied hustle action, because that's another common response to difficult emotions. So notice where you fall on the spectrum. If the challenging emotion comes to you, stop and kind of like, let me go deep and process. Or when challenging emotion comes, do you just like, you want to take action to like overcome it? Right? Both of those are coming from the ego structure. And again, there's no judgment. We all do this. But again, this is about building emotional power and resilience. So this step is like, okay, beautiful soul, increase my capacity. Increase my capacity to be with this challenging emotion and continue to take soul-led action. And step 4, so notice this is a lot of like powerful talking to yourself. So step 4 is you're going to remind yourself that this is how you build emotional power. Like, okay, this is how emotional power is built. This is how I build emotional resiliency. This is how I become an emotionally powerful person. This is the type of service and leadership that is needed in the world. I want to do this. I mean, I'm saying lots of different sentences. Notice which ones resonate with you. You come up with your own. But one thing that I've been really reminding all of us helpers of is that even though, yes, you're here to help the world, to share your gifts with others, to inspire, to uplift, first and foremost, this is for you, for your own self-realization, for your own self-fulfillment, for you to awaken and know who you are. So it's very important in all of these things that I coach my clients, that I'm teaching you, for you to come back to, this is for me. This is how I become an emotionally powerful person. And yes, as I do that, I can help so many more people. But you want to come back to you, to saying, I want this. I have the capacity. I want to do this. Not like, well, I want to do this so I can help lots of people and that's what would make me a good person. Like, no, I want to do this because I want to experience myself as an emotionally powerful person. I want to be, like that. Whenever I did the Pillar of Light class, I think it was last year. I don't even know, like recently. Maybe it was January, whenever it was. Like, I want to be that pillar of light, right? I want to be that like presence in the world that is bringing this energy of certainty. Not certainty because you know all the answers, but certainty because you're aligned with the certainty of your soul. I want to be that person, not just for my clients, my students, my loved ones, but as I walk through the world. And so that as those other vibrations of fear and all of the stuff that's in the world, it doesn't affect me, not because I'm building a wall or because I'm burying my head in the sand, but because I've built emotional power and resiliency. And then those people that you're here to serve will find you, right? I'll be like, what are you doing? How do I do that? Teach me. Like, that's how my clients find me, right? It's like, how do you do this? How do you keep showing up when challenging things come up, and being a very sensitive person that I am? And so it's the same for you, whatever unique qualities you have. And so then the last step is, if needed, later go back and process. Whether you do this by yourself or you do it with your therapist or coach, I'm not saying that there never will be a time for processing. Of course, that is really important. That's like long-term maintenance, right? And so as you're going through your day, let's say you follow this process and then you recognize, you know what, I do think I'm going to need a little longer time later to be with these parts of me. and create that time. But what we're talking about again is being the leader, right? The leader, the beautiful, powerful, loving, kind, compassionate, focused leader of your inner world, of your emotions. This is truly what makes the difference. You know, when I work with my clients, it's like this is the difference, that they start to learn how to do this. Right? It's those little shifts. We think it's going to be this big decision we make and like that's going to open all the doors. It's really all the little everyday decisions. It's all the everyday moments where you choose to be present with your emotions, where you choose to increase your capacity, where you choose to remind yourself that you want to do this, where you choose that you want to become an emotionally powerful person, where you recognize that this isn't about always being positive. That isn't really even the type of leadership the world needs. I'm not saying that you become like this like depressing person by any means, but there's a lot of emotions that are very powerful that wouldn't be considered necessarily positive. There's being committed. There's being connected. There's being authentic. There's being vulnerable. That's very powerful. You know, as I've shared recently, you know, since my husband got diagnosed with cancer back in October, I've shared some vulnerable things about that. And I'm not sharing like I'm always just cheery, positive all day long. Like, no, there's many times where I've grieved, where I've felt the panic, all of that. And I'm practicing this over and over and over and over. Right. And I remind myself, okay, this is part of the training of my life. This is part of what's molding me to this next level of emotional power for me and for everyone that I'm here to help. All right. So I really want you to remember that no matter what emotion shows up, your soul has the infinite capacity to be with it. And it is your divine birthright to ask for that capacity to be yours, to ask to increase that capacity for you. So also want to remind you what month are we in? April Masterclass, Safe to Serve, Emotional Power and Resiliency for Helpers and Changemakers is this coming Monday, April 28th. It is a free masterclass and it's going to be all about this, about becoming emotionally powerful. So I'll put the link in the comments page. The replay will be available for 5 days. And if you're a coaching client of mine already, of course, you get the link for as long as you're part of my coaching program. And I'm just going to go deeper into this because this is, again, I'm on a mission, right, to create this movement of helpers, especially those of you who are sensitive. Like that's the type of leadership the world needs. I know people think, oh, we need like really in your face leadership. And there's a time and place for that. But I really believe that it is often those of us who have shied away from leadership, from being in the spotlight, who are actually the ones being called to it. And one of the things that holds us back is this fear of our own emotions. Even though the Divine Mother gave us that deep emotional range so that we could connect with the pain of the world, but not drown in it. So that's what I'm going to be talking about on Monday. I'm so excited to share that. And I want to remind you that if you want to meet with me privately, I do offer a free breakthrough consult. I think I have right now 1 slot maybe left in April, but I'm going to open a few more. And if any of this resonated, if any of this where you're like, yeah, I think this is what I need right now. This is what would be helpful to me. I would love to talk to you. I'll put the link there. You don't have to prepare anything. And yeah, it'll be over Zoom. So have a wonderful rest of your day. Remember, you are a powerful, resilient person, and your emotional sensitivity is the gift that the world needs. Truly, truly. I used to hear that and roll my eyes, but I really believe that now. Okay? All right. I will talk to you soon. Bye, everyone. You're welcome. Bye, everyone. Bye, Roxana and Deborah, Shotgun Trader, and anyone else who's here watching. Bye-bye. In the replay or the recording. No, live or in the replay. I said that off. Bye, everyone.